Coming up on today's show, the 49ers defense is going to be taking on a star-studded Rams offense with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Odell Beckham Jr. on Sunday. But with the way that the Niners defense has been playing over the last several weeks, they have an opportunity to lock that unit down in order to get into the playoffs, and the numbers certainly back that up. According to The Athletic, Jim Harbaugh wants to return to the NFL. A lot of fans in the Niner gang would love to see him replace Kyle Shanahan, but it ain't going to happen. Lastly, should the Niners trade for star wide receiver Calvin Ridley, who could be on his way out from the Atlanta Falcons? But first, since we're talking about Jim Harbaugh today, and because he had immediate results with San Francisco back several years ago, who do you think is the better coach? Type KS for Kyle Shanahan, JH for Jim Harbaugh. Embrace debate, have fun with this, get those votes in, and let's start today's show. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, as always, Chase Sr. I hope all of you are having a fantastic week and you're dealing with the nerves well leading up to Sunday's game. Niners win, and they're into the big dance. If they lose, they need the New Orleans Saints to lose to the Atlanta Falcons in Week 18 of the regular season. Speaking about this matchup between the Rams and the 49ers, if you were to ask the common fan what they thought about the Niners defense, they would probably tell you it's one of the more lackluster units across the entire National Football League. That is not the case, especially with the way that they have been trending over the last several weeks. We're going to take a look at some fascinating data sets, which goes to show you how well the Niners defense has been playing and some of the adjustments they've made over the last several weeks. Let's first start off with the improvements with the run defense. So in the first 8 games, the Niners defense allowed 7 teams to rush for 100 or more yards. But in the last 8 games, only one team has surpassed the century mark on the ground. Seattle had 146 in Week 13, but if you remember, 73 of those 146 yards came on that fake punt from Travis Homer. And a big reason why this Niners run defense has been able to improve so vastly is the play of DJ Jones. Isn't it crazy that the play of DJ Jones coming back on that short-term cheap contract that he signed in NFL free agency has pretty much made us forget about Javon Kinlaw going down for the rest of the year with that torn ACL. You move forward with this team, Jones is going to be a free agent. I'd love to see him back because I think he could be a more impact player as compared to Javon Kinlaw. And we have to give credit to DeMeco Ryans. No doubt early on in the year, it was somewhat of a spotty season for this Niners defense, and they had some gaps in coverage. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, with 37 seconds left against some of that prevent defense, was able to drive the Packers down the field and handed the Niners an L. If you win that game, you're not talking about basically a do-or-die game in Week 18. But you must give credit to DeMeco for some of the adjustments that he's made throughout the year and the fact that this secondary is absolutely atrocious. Yet, with some of the disguises that DeMeco Ryans has used at his disposal, he's been able to confuse opposing offenses, and because of that, statistically, as we're about to show you, Niners defense has been one of the best in the NFL. The Athletic did a good job of pointing this out, especially with that Niners pass rush, which is of course led by Nick Bosa. But in addition to that, some guys have really come to play, including Arden Key. The Athletic. It was just over 2 months ago that the 49ers defense had only 12 sacks in 6 games. Good for the league's number 26 ranking, with Bosa having notched 5 of those sacks. Well, in the 10 games since then, the 49ers have racked up an astounding 31 sacks, third most in the NFL. And though Nick Bosa has continued to gobble up the large share of that total, with 10 of those sacks, 31 sacks combined is a massive, massive number. And when you break down the Niners' defensive rankings, they're actually pretty good, which is contrary to what many people believe. In terms of points per game, the Niners are at 14th, which is really just okay, but 21 points per game in the NFL in 2022, considering all of the rule changes catering offenses, is a pretty good number. They're 9th in rushing yards per game at 106, but as we just pointed out, very good the last several weeks. 5th in pass yards per game. In today's pass-happy NFL, you'll take that any day of the week. And total yards per game, they rank 4th. That's why this Niners physicality against the Rams offense could end up being one of the biggest storylines if the Niners are able to pull out a win, and if they do so, they are into the playoffs. So I want to ask you this, Niner gang, as we continue to move forward in today's show. We show you the numbers. You have seen the eye test. What is your level of confidence in the Niners defense? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 being not confident at all, 10 being very confident. Hopefully, you're on the good side of this as we approach Sunday's game. Now, if you want to bet on Sunday's game between the Rams and Niners, 49ers have won 5 in a row against Los Angeles. You can do so thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. If you go to chatsports.com/49bet, enter that promo code Niners125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100 into your account using that link in that promo code, you get an additional $125 back. In San Francisco, they are being doubted in the final week of the regular season. 4.5-point underdogs. The over-under still standing firm at 44.5. Get your bets in, smash the Niners as underdogs in hopes that they can come through with the clutch win. Jim Harbaugh wants to come back to the NFL. Could he replace Kyle Shanahan? I don't think there's any chance that this happens, although this is a big rumor in Niner land right now. So The Athletic reporting the other day that Harbaugh kind of wants to or could return to the NFL. He has yet to come out to refute some of these rumors, and Bruce Feldman was on the Rich Eisen show today saying, yeah, I think this buzz is legit, and Harbaugh does want to go back to the National Football League. When he was at the NFL level, he was tremendous with San Francisco. They were a dumpster fire for so long, 8 consecutive years with having a 500 or below record, and in year 1, he leads the Niners to a conference championship game. Year 2 leads them to that epic Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens, and really had a great stint with the Niners from 2011 to 2014, winning a lot of games in the process. The Athletic on Harbaugh's interest with the National Football League, quote, "The Athletic is hearing rumblings, both from the NFL side and at Michigan, that Harbaugh might be tempted to leave the Wolverines to return to the NFL. One source saying, quote, "I think it's real about Harbaugh heading back to the NFL." Bruce Feldman saying this as well as what he said on the Rich Eisen show. "I'd always heard from people who know him well that they thought at some point he was going to go back to the NFL. I didn't think he would leave Michigan knowing he never won the game that matters most there against Ohio State, but now he's done that and he's won the Big Ten. It feels like the timing might be right." And when you look at Harbaugh's entire career, he's won everywhere that he's gone. San Diego State, he goes to Michigan, he goes to the Niners, goes to Stanford. Like everywhere this guy has gone, he's been an impact culture changer. He's been a program builder. He's been a marketable face, which is great for ticket sales. Most importantly, though, he's won a shit ton of football games. And when I look at this reporting, I'm like, okay, he signed that contract extension for less money, around $4 million per year, which really is underpaying Jim Harbaugh for what he brings to the table. So is Harbaugh's agent doing good work? I think so, to maybe get him a new contract worth more money, because he saw that Mel Tucker is in the high $90 million price range, and all these other coaches like Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley are almost getting $90 million to $100 million deals. Harbaugh wants more cheddar, and it's understandable to see why. I've always thought this too about Harbaugh, though. I think he fits the NFL better than he fits the college game, especially with all of this NIL going on right now. I mean, the college game is so fluid right now, and you don't have a lot of control as to whether players are committing to your program or they're transferring. They're saying they're transferring, but then they're staying, or they're saying that they're leaving, and then they're going to stay and go. It's just so confusing, right? And I think Harbaugh would like to have a little bit more stability at the NFL game than what he has at the college game right now. Now, I know a lot of people have been voicing this over the last several months, the last couple of years, because they look at Kyle Shanahan's record, and they're frustrated that in year 5, he has not stacked up as many wins as what Harbaugh was able to do in his Niners tenure, I can tell you this, whether the Niners get into the playoffs or not, whether they beat the Rams or not, Kyle Shanahan is not going anywhere. After that Super Bowl appearance against the Chiefs, he had signed that contract extension. This organization has built the team and the organization around Kyle Shanahan, and his fingertips are all around this entire franchise right now. And I think we've seen with the adjustments that have been made this year that Kyle Shanahan is a fantastic coach. So for those of you saying, hire Jim Harbaugh, fire Kyle Shanahan, in addition to everything that I just said, Harbaugh also doesn't get along with ownership. It is not going to happen. So I want to pose this question one more time for you. The better coach is it Kyle Shanahan? Is it Jim Harbaugh? Some people will say Kyle Shanahan is the offensive mastermind. Others might say that Jim Harbaugh is the better offensive coach who is the better quarterback guru and is just the better program builder and won more games. I know you're all going to have fun with this in the comments section, so do it so right now. All right, Calvin Ridley. Could the Niners trade for him this offseason? He's had a very up and down, weird, odd season this year with Atlanta. He's barely played all year because of mental health issues. And according to Steve Weish of the NFL Network, Ridley is in need of a fresh start. He only has a cap hit of $11+ million in 2022. And when this guy is physically right and mentally right, he's one of the more dynamic wide receivers in the league. And if you get him for a cap hit of $11 million, that right there is a straight up steal. As for what Steve had to say on 92.9 The Game radio, I would think so. I don't know everything that's gone on here in Atlanta, but for him not to surface and for the team not to say anything about him all season long, that leads me to believe that at some point maybe his side is like, he needs a fresh start, or the Falcons might feel like, hey, we need a fresh start. Interesting stuff and a big storyline that we'll continue to follow going into the offseason, not just for San Francisco, but all other 31 teams across the NFL, because this guy is a star wideout who really has put up great levels of production throughout his short NFL career. 248 catches in his career so far in only a few seasons, more than 3,300 yards, average yards per catch of 13.5 with 28 touchdowns. And I think he's been overshadowed just a little bit because he was in the shadows of Julio Jones for a little while. And the Falcons had traded Julio away in part because they wanted Ridley to be that number one wide receiver, and it didn't come to fruition this year for Atlanta because he stepped aside after only a game or two to take care of his mentals, as Marshawn Lynch would say. Ridley is an excellent player. So if I'm the Niners, I'm doing my due diligence. I'm trying to see if his mental health checks out. I want to see if he's dedicated to the game. I want to see if he needs a fresh start. And I want to see what the price tag is for Atlanta if they do trade him away. It could honestly take a first or second round pick. San Francisco does not have a first round selection in the 2022 NFL draft. They do have a second round pick, but I'm not sure I'd fork away a second round pick for Ridley, because I think you're somewhat set right now at the wide receiver position with Deebo Samuel, who you have to offer a contract extension to. Brandon Ayuk has really turned it on the last 2.5 months, and you have George Kittle at tight end as well. But this is going to be a massive storyline for all teams in the NFL during the 2022 NFL offseason. So let me ask you this, Niner gang. Would you trade for Calvin Ridley? Type S for sign him, type P for a pass on him. Get those votes in. We're going to be doing a watch party for this Niners-Rams game. It's going to get litty. Hopefully we're talking about a win. Post-game show as well on Sunday. Talk to you then, and go Niners.